Incredible.
You don't get that in English match fishing events.
It's
Game changer. Really important to do
Little things in tiny percentages.
It does make a difference, but it's part and parcel of the event.
Of course. You wouldn't change it.
You can't do anything about it.
Quite deep and tactical what you did, clearly.
Yeah, there's not many options, but it was very tactical.
The Fishing Gurus podcast.
I've got some great news to start the show, boys. Toby's forgot his microphone.
Right, let's keep it between us, though, yeah?
Yeah, just us three.
Yeah, just the three of us.
Shout, Tobe.
Hello.
You might be able to hear him, but thankfully there'll be no chipping in from him today, gang. Welcome to the show, Steve Ringer and Adam Rooney. Bit of a special for today, a celebratory one, and something that I've wanted to do since you got back from the Waterland Feeder Masters. Is that what it's called? Waterland Feeder?
That's what we called
I
it,
think
yeah.
so, yeah.
Congratulations. Team winners and top two individuals. Both of you two sat in the studio today. Enjoy it?
Yeah, it was good. Really good. Nice to win, isn't it?
Look at all the silverware on the table. Unbelievable.
I've had to buy some more polish.
Tell us a little bit about this event. I know you've been to it a few times, Steve. You've been a couple of times as well, Roon. Am I right in thinking not the first time you've won it, Steve?
I've never won it as a team before. No English team had ever won the event before, as far as I'm aware. I won the individual on pole, I don't know what year, a long time ago. It's on, for those that don't know, it's a venue called Zeged Rowing Course, which is an Olympic rowing course, dead straight line. Obviously, I think it's the fairest, easy to say when you've won, but it's the fairest venue in Europe, I think.
Definitely the fairest.
I've fished probably, don't know, more than 10 times there. And obviously we've never won, but I could never argue that the best team wins on that venue. When you fish a world champs or whatever and you haven't won, you talk to the team afterwards and you're like, oh, why didn't we think of that? That's what it's always been like. It's what I call a method venue. So if you can get on the right method, it will work all the way through. It's not like where you think, oh, I've drawn bad, we've had 2 bad draws. I think it's as fair a venue as you can get. The main species, obviously, carp, Carasio, and there's some catfish, but the main species were carp. It used to be a little bit more mixed, as in, it used to be 70-30 Carasio carp. Now I'd say it's probably 95% carp, 5% Carasio, but it's an amazing venue, and I wish we had something like it in the UK.
Yeah. So do I. Amazing place. What did you do, Rooney, on the lead up to it? How did this event come about? And obviously getting there as a team, the prep that went into it. What did you do beforehand? Because it's not just a case of chucking your gear in the van and going and fishing your local commercial.
It takes quite a lot of preparation and organisation, really, basically because of the distance. So it's not easy to get there. You can fly, but obviously you've got to get your gear there. So it's a 2-day drive, Steve, realistically?
It's a day and a half.
Yeah, day and a half.
Is it 1,200 miles? It's about 2,200 mile round trip.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a fair old way. But yeah, we got an invitation. Tamas kindly invited us. We've been going for a few years. And yeah, we decided to go just with one team this year, which was myself, Bobby Taylor, Frankie, and Steve.
Nice.
Let's drag him along, didn't we?
Drag Ringer along.
Yeah.
Just for the trip.
And yeah, so basically it was just like WhatsApp group before we went, lots of preparation and research. Obviously Steve just knows everyone now fishing on that international scene, so fair play to him. He gets all the info we need and that. And Tamas is a fantastic help. Obviously he's a customer of ours, as well as a real good friend. So yeah, he keys us up. We got ready and we got in the vans and we went. It was as easy as that, but as complicated as that, if that makes sense.
And obviously it's feeder only.
Yeah.
What sort does it take a lot of prep in terms of tackle, Steve, to go to this kind of event? Is it something that you spend days and days getting ready for, or do you sort of do a bit of kit out there during the practice week?
Normally when you'll know it from obviously World Flow, when you go into Europe, you need 20 ton of kit. The beauty of Zeged is obviously it's a rowing course, so there's cables. So like your maximum you can cast is basically 32, 33 meters without going through the cables, and you're not allowed to go through the cables.
They're like boys
boys
in the rowing course.
Yeah, they pull the boys in, so obviously we've got somewhere to fish. I presume when there's an Olympic event on or a big event, the boys come all the way out. But when there's a match on, the boys get pulled in. So the maximum you can cast is like 32, 33 metres. So rod-wise, it simplifies it. You're looking at 10, 11-foot rods because you can't physically cast any further.
Yeah, there's no need for anything else.
And because the species isn't diverse, as in you haven't got like some little skimmers, you haven't got some cats, you haven't got a big number of like spiky cats, or prep's really easy. It's a very positive venue, which I love, a positive venue where you can actually feed something, and the fish aren't, I think they're not really line shy, so you don't need like hooks tied from size 10 to size 20. You're looking at 12s, 14s, maybe 16s, and that's it. And line, you're only dealing with carp to win, so you're not looking at like 011 bottoms or 010. You're looking at sort of 016 upwards.
Got ya. And in terms of format for the week, am I right in thinking you had 3 practice days?
Yeah.
And then it's a 3-day match?
Yeah.
Room, tell us a little bit about practice, like how you went about practicing, what you learnt, because the result was phenomenal. After first day, I'm thinking these boys are on it. Second day, I'm thinking they've won it. Third day, absolutely annihilated it. Tell me about the journey towards getting that plan together, what you were going to do. Them 3 practice days, what was significant in them?
Yeah, well, we always had a plan in our heads from previous years, and obviously being on the pole one the year before. To be honest, when you were talking about prep and that, we, apart from taking every rod and reel and 10, 11 foot I owned, and plenty of reels and reel lines and feeders, we didn't really do much prep because you didn't want to tie a million hooks because you didn't know what the scenario was going to be when you be there. Got some great info off Tamas again of size of fish, what they were catching. There was quite a few events leading up to it as well, weren't there, Steve? So
yeah, Waterland Feeders pretty much the last event on there of the year.
Yeah.
Waterland, obviously Tamas's team had just won their World Club qualifier on there.
Right.
So we had amazing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go to a venue blind. Obviously, I know Zeged pretty well anyway. Plus the information off like Tamas, Bacco, Laszlo and their team. Matthias. Yeah, they were all fantastically open, fantastically helpful. But obviously, it works both ways. I'll always help them when I can, and they help us.
Yeah.
So we had a brilliant. I'd say we had a head start, but you still have to fine tune it. And I always think you can take a method, but you have to put your own slant on it, which I feel is like we took their method. I wouldn't ever dispute that. But then maybe we fine tuned it a little bit, because sometimes a new team can come in it from a slightly different angle.
Yeah, totally.
What was the method? What did he tell you?
Well, practice days. The first day we turned up, obviously, with the journey, we missed most of the practice, the first day of practice, which was a bit of an open practice. But Tamas was there with his team fishing, and it was quite apparent that the tactics that they'd spoke about, they were practicing then. So you know you're going to be there or thereabouts. And then day 2, we sort of sat down, and a bit of an open practice for us, really. We knew what the boundaries were, what we were going to do, and we just fished, and yeah, we sort of just got in a bit of a rhythm. I always say Steve is the man that does all the swipping and swapping about. He's so in tune with his fishing anyway, whereas I hadn't been fishing for a little while, so it was nice just to get a feel of catching fish on your rods and getting your gear right, whereas Steve's just the technician. He's going through the motions and doing it. And we had a few visits from Tamas and some other teams, and you could just see it ticking away and everything. I think we were just ticking boxes the whole time and cancelling stuff out. And then by day 3 practice, really, I think we were all pretty much well in tune. And being honest, I couldn't see how we were not going to do well. Obviously, you could get it majorly wrong, but what we were doing was working, and it was just obviously match conditions which could have changed things. But yeah, it was.
Tell me a little bit about approach, because the angler in me is like, well, what did you do? What did you learn? How did you fish? What lines did you fish? And what baits were in? That kind of thing. You must have had some sort of technical plan.
Yeah. Well, it was all going to be. It's mainly corn. So the fish are bred on corn. Corn's the big bait that the carp like.
Bear in mind as well, it's FIPS rules.
Yeah, so you're fishing running feeders. It's like international feeder rules.
You're not allowed pellets. Pellets wouldn't work anyway. There's no pellets, there's no hair rigging, there's no wafters, it's 50 centimetre hook length, it's cage type. Traditional feeder fishing, and obviously you've got bait limits, so you can't just take 4 pints of maggots, 4 pints of casters. You've got to be very precise. Bloodworm and Joker was banned for the event.
Yeah, which was a good thing.
Because you didn't need it. Tamas's attitude was, I could allow it and people would take it, but you're wasting your money.
Yeah.
So if I ban it, because you don't need it anyway, it stops people wasting money, because it obviously can be an expensive trip anyway, and you don't need the bait anyway. So that was banned. So literally we had 2 litres of maggots, casters, etc., worms if you wanted them. And then obviously you've got your ground bait allowance, which ground bait includes corn, hemp. And ground bait. We had the most simple bait ever.
Did you get a sponsorship from Lidl, or did you just have to go and pay for all the corn?
To be honest, we could have done with one. But yeah,
anyone listening, there's a picture of Bobby Taylor on screen whose arms look very tired and he's carrying 5 trays of sweet corn.
Well, if it gives you a bit of a clue, that was just about enough for one session.
Honestly.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
How much? What bait did you take then? Corn was so significant. You must have took a lot.
We didn't take enough, clearly, because we're in a Lidl in the middle of Zeged or wherever it was, trying to find more. But yeah, so we sort of went with the similar approach we went for the pole. And we thought we could never feed that much for a feeder. It was phenomenal. But yeah, we were using probably, I'd open 10 litres of corn to start. 10
litres?
And then have a load of tins, which you wouldn't open, but they'd be with you in case you needed them. And to be honest, there wasn't many tins left on, especially day 2 and day 3 of match day. We found you could be really, really positive. But yeah, it was crazy fishing.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
So yeah, bait wise was just for us. We literally narrowed it down to corn and maggots and sticky mag for
2 litres of maggots.
Yeah.
And the rest then corn for ground bait. That was it.
Yeah.
And were there a particular place you needed to fish? Because I'm interested. I know that in the past people kind of fish a feeder close in there, but there's also this rope at 30 metres that's a bit of a feature. Did you set a couple of different lines up, or?
We fished 2 to be honest, I went there thinking, because I fished it a lot, and obviously when there's been pole events on and then a feeder, you haven't had to fish anywhere other than sort of 12 to 15 metres.
Yeah.
So I went there thinking we probably won't have to fish to the rope. There always has been fish on the rope, but pole line's been a better line even with feeder. So I went there thinking we could probably fish short back to back. But it was really apparent after training, you can catch short, but the best line was what I call the rope line.
Yeah.
And the rope line down in A section, it was like 26 metres. Up in D, it was like probably over 30 metres.
Yeah, 32, 34 metres in areas.
But there was like there were more fish on the rope, but if you started on the rope, it was never right. It was like it's like you had to let the fish settle, and but you still had to feed them. It's like we fed mega aggressively.
Tell me about this feeding. What do you call aggressive? Because I'm fishing feeder league at Allcroft at the minute, and the aim is to get the tiniest feeder ever. So give me some positivity feeding.
Basically, you're looking at one thing I've always known about Zeged, and you've seen it when you've been. The fish. I've never known fish eat as fast. Like when you're fishing pole, there you can feed a full pot of corn, get your rig out as fast as possible, and you've probably got 3 minutes to get a bite.
Yeah. And
if you haven't got a bite, or your bait's somehow gone and you haven't caught a fish, then you can't feed enough. And that's pretty much how it was on feeder. Our plan was, obviously you've got to feed 2 lines, so you're constantly putting if you catch a fish, basically you've got 4 minutes, 4 to 5 minute cast to catch a fish, and if you don't catch one,
you feed again.
You're feeding again with like 1 or 2 of them, but you're feeding both lines.
Right.
So when you're fishing 15 metres, you might catch a fish, you've got to put one in at 15 and then put one in on the rope.
That's ridiculously busy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I bet you were knackered, weren't you, at end of the day?
Yeah, we had 2 bait up rods set up. During practice, we'd give it away a little bit. People were like, I ain't got 2 bait up rods. It's really important to have them both ready, both set and clipped up on the 2 lines, so you could literally pick one up, feed it, get on the next one and feed that as well before you started fishing again. But what I was going to say, through practice, we were quite worried about, feeding and feeding and feeding. You thought you could knacker it up, because on the pole one you can knacker it quite easily, but it was all about getting in a rhythm and keeping that feeding consistent all the time. You couldn't think, just have one more chuck. If you had that one more chuck, you'd kill your other line. You had to keep both going in, and I think that constant feed made the big difference for us, and we were very aggressive as a team compared to others.
When you sat down and there's anglers around you on the match days, could you sense that you were feeding more than other people?
I felt, obviously a lot of it's discipline. It's easy, even when you're not catching, you've got to keep feeding.
Yeah.
And I felt like what tended to happen was, and no disrespect to any anglers at all, everyone starts off like mega aggressive, and then there was always a few fish fed early. Second hour was normally okay, third hour, and for me the 4th hour sort of fell off every day. And a lot of people, when it falls off, they ease up. But if you kept going, then the 5th hour it was like you were just sucking, because people slow up. They don't realise they're slowing up. But like what Adam just said, you have a chuck without a bite, think, I'll have another chuck. Whereas you couldn't have another chuck.
You'd done it then.
And then if someone, because the pegging's it was more generous than what we've seen on pole, but it's still only 14 metres.
which is close.
Yeah, which is close, but pole's like 9 metres, so it was generous pegging for Zeghead. And when you're aggressive at the right times, and other people are maybe feeding once every 10 minutes, and you're feeding every 4 minutes, you just start to pull more and more fish. And I think that's what our feeding was so aggressive that maybe people matched us for a couple of hours, but then people just subconsciously slow up. They don't mean to, and if you say afterwards, they'd say, "Oh, I didn't think I did," but they do. They go 10 minutes instead of 4 minutes, and it's almost like. And a lot of people can't feed 2 lines, so when they come in to 15, they stop feeding the rope, or when they're on the rope, they don't feed 15. And a lot of people started on the rope, and I don't know why, but it just wasn't. You had to keep feeding the rope at the start, but if you went on it, the fish never really settled there. Whereas if you started short, you might only get like 2 or 3 fish. You might even be behind.
I just think they moved along the venue, but if someone was picking fish off that longer line, they didn't stay there. There was probably a little bit more bait there, and you were feeding it and letting them feed without interfering with them. I think it was so important, that, weren't it, Steve?
What what I am interested in, like, we talk about baiting up tackle, and you had 2 rods set up just for baiting up. How important is and was having the right kit to do the baiting up on this kind of thing? Because it sounds like that was absolutely key in winning.
It was absolutely, that was probably the most important part for me. You've got to have the right gear, because you are like filling a feeder like that or that full of corn and chucking it probably how many times a day? God knows, hundreds of times a day.
Did you pack it with ground bait to keep
the corn
in?
No, literally just corn. We whizzed a bit of corn.
We zipped a bit of corn. Yeah. For those who don't know what zip, it's like it shreds it, basically.
Like a cold saw maker, innit?
Yeah, basically. So out of our, 10, 12 litres, 10 litres of corn, you'd have a couple of litres of zippered. So you'd put the normal... I was just mixing it in, and it just gives it enough grip.
Just fills the gaps.
Right.
So I always used to like feeding it with hemp, but it was clear that they just wanted the corn. So you were wasting your time putting hemp in it. So a bit of whiz corn, did the trick.
And does it hold in all right when you cast?
You have to be very smooth.
Your hands at the end of the day were like cramping,
because you're having to.
You're literally cramming it in, because you've got an open feeder. You can fish the one with the cap on, which was good at times, especially when it was towing and stuff, feeding slightly different. But you're just relentlessly filling it with corn. And but your gear needed to be bang on, so we used the 10-foot bait up rods.
It's important that your bait up rod was pretty much the same length as your fishing rod. Accuracy is everything on a Zeghead, because you're trying to fish. I'll come into it in more detail, but obviously sometimes not on your bait, but you need to know exactly where your bait is.
It was like pole fishing, weren't it? You're potting and you've got to be right on top of it to get that quicker bite.
So you don't want a 13-foot bait rod and a 10-foot fishing rod.
Which I see a lot of people just have a cheap carp rod.
They're no good for that sort of thing. Good for baiting up, but no good when you need to be so accurate.
And obviously braid. Obviously, we use the bait up braid.
Yeah.
Braid is massive for accuracy and a really clean release. You need to know when you're emptying that feeder that you're not dragging the corn 2-3 meters back. With braid, obviously, 0 stretch. You're emptying it nice and clean. The bait up rods are very fast tip speed. So it's a very clean release. So you know your corn is ending up exactly where you want it to be. And sometimes we released it up. If it wasn't towing, I tended to release it like up or halfway down. And if it was ripping, Zeghead is a shallow rowing course, probably 7 foot deep, or 6 to 7 foot all the way out. And it rips like no one on earth. A little tiny wind.
Incredible.
Really.
And it folds your tip. So when it's like that, you don't want to be letting your corn go 6 foot up.
It was so important you knew where your feed was. And you'd know if you got it wrong, because you'd have a chuck left or right of it to find it. Especially on practice days, you could really work out where it was.
What were the conditions like? Sort of back end of October time in Hungary. What were it like?
Blooming lovely, weren't it? Really?
It got up to like 27.
27 degrees.
Yeah. Beautiful. You come back with brown legs, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I wore shorts every day. Day 2 was a bit of a mistake.
Day 2 was
absolutely hammered it down. When they have a storm there, they have a proper storm. And God, it
blew a gale and hammered it down on day 2.
So windy. and that day was totally different fishing to the other day, where you feed in and what feeders you use. You really had to think about it. It was an easy concept, but you had to make sure you could do it.
Right.
And that was the trick.
The actual fish at Zeghead, carp, are they hard fighting? How big are these fish? Because I've seen some pictures and they look like beautifully conditioned They look so fit, muscly fish.
Oh, they're gorgeous fish. Probably some of the best I've seen carp-wise.
And a catfish.
some idiot there. But yeah, that was my day 2 catch. That was when it was wet and windy. Still got my shorts on. I weren't feeling too great either, to be honest. But that catch made up for it.
You're wet through there.
Yeah.
Shorts drenched.
But what was that? I learned a real valuable lesson on day 2 of practice. We were fine-tuning on day 2, trying different hook patterns and stuff. And you know what I'm like? I'm quite aggressive as an angler, a little bit of a bully. Don't like messing about with fish. And we started fishing with small hooks. Anyway, cutting a long story short, I lost a few fish. Then I put a bigger hook on. Thought, Bobby was catching on a little hook. I was like, that's rubbish. I keep losing them, Bob. Put a bigger hook on, kept losing them. And he was like, you're really bullying them fish. And I'm like, well, I'm not really. But they do fight, and they are hard fighters, but you have to be ever so careful when you play them, didn't you, Steve? You couldn't give them too much.
And you like, obviously, I used Aventus Steve Ringer rods, 10, 11 foot. You like the original.
I like the
Aventus,
original,
which has got a little bit more power than obviously than my range of rods, so to speak.
You almost can't pull them too hard on a Ringer
and obviously
rod,
most of my fishing is with an elasticated feeder, so you've got that extra. And I was pulling out fish, and it was for Bobby to have a little go at me and say, just take it a bit more easier.
Yeah.
And after that, it was fine, you know. But the fish are wonderful to catch. They're just, it's like great. You enjoy
do they
everything.
fight?
Yeah, they do fight. Yeah, they're very powerful when they get close. So you sort of, if you're fishing the rope, you've got to,
you've got to be on the bite.
You've got to be on the bite. If you miss it, you're in trouble. So
what do you mean by being on the bite?
So you got, as soon as you get an indication, you've got to be on it, because if you give them a bit, they're in and gone and.
Swimming off.
They pull your arms off. Once they've got a bit of speed up, they're off.
Do you clip up or not?
At 15 meters, when I've been there before, they never fought that hard. But Tamas always used to say to me, in September, these are different fish. They'll pull your arm off. So we went there, and obviously I thought, I don't need to clip 15 metres, I'll turn them. Soft, obviously Steve Ringer rod's really soft.
Yeah.
And got broke first 2 chucks.
No.
So what we ended up doing, at 30 metres to the rope, you could clip up and turn it, providing you're on it. If you were like looking behind you or messing about,
they're pushed
and look round and your rod's round, they're through the ropes and gone. But if you're on them, as in you watch the tip go round, get the rod down, get that curve in the rod, you could turn them. But at 15 metres, we were clipping up and then using line marker pens. So basically, you cast your 15, take the clip off, and then you've got a line marker mark. So if you get a bite, obviously you play your fish, you've got no worry of a clip, and then literally just have one false cast back out to clip up where the line marker is.
Right.
And then you're back in again. Because some people would try and do it like freestyle, just with the line marker, watching it go through the rings, and you could do that, but when they were bang on the bait, it was just easier to have one false cast.
Yeah.
But sometimes they were passed, so sometimes you wanted your line marker. You were feeding at 15 with your bait rod, obviously, and then you wanted your line marker at the top of the rings. So you passed, but you had to vary it, and the fish would move around during the course of 5 hours. At times, if you get a few indications, you'd be like they're back on the bait, so you'd wind it back.
It was really nice having that indicator on your line, really, so you could judge it. That was probably the hardest thing for me in practice, because I clip up everywhere. I refused to unclip until I lost about 6 in a row, and then I thought, well, I'm gonna have to learn how to do this. And obviously, being a khaki hander when I cast, trying to find a bit of white or whatever colour pink marker on your line as it's going through your rings and easy. But I got used to it in the end, and I think as the session went on, because you were so in tune, you could literally cast and work out on the water where you needed to cast, and like you say, the marker just indicated.
You can wind it back a bit.
As well.
Bear in mind, we haven't said this, but obviously we're feeding loads of corn, but then we're fishing sticky mag over the top.
Right.
So we're not fishing corn. You know, I mean, you did catch a few fish on corn in practice.
Yeah.
But sticky mag in the feeder and maggots on the hook.
Why is that so important? I didn't know that. I thought you were just fishing. What do you mean by? Tell people what sticky mag is to start with, because people listening might not have heard of it. But
it's basically where we use something called Arabic gum. Probably for those not watching, I've got a tub here anyway. It's like a powder. You get your maggots, clean them off. Take all the maize, anything off them. Basically, then normally I wet my hand, run it through the maggots to make them damp, not wet, but like damp. So they get, and then that also takes more was going to swear then, more rubbish off the maggots as in. And so you want the maggots as clean as possible and damp, and then you just give them a sprinkle of sticky mag and keep adding a little bit until they bind. We also use gravel.
Yeah. That was
can
really
see it.
important, that
You
was.
can see
Even
it.
in a feeder, you put
Yeah,
gravel in
yeah.
your sticky
It gives it a
mag.
bit more weight, and also you're only allowed 2 litres. And bear in mind, we were having a lot of casts.
It
So-
bulked your bait
So
out.
it gave you a little bit. I probably gave you another 8 or 10 casts, which doesn't,
Right.
which sounds like nothing. But bear in mind, on like day one with 45 minutes to go, I was like, I'm definitely running out of maggots. So like little things like that. I think weight when it's really towing helps
Right.
as well. So the gravel bulked it out, but also and it gives it. You've used sticky mag loads.
Yeah.
Sometimes sticky mag gets like it can be like it's like glue. With the gravel, it makes it a bit more spongy.
Yeah, you could never really overdo it, if that made sense. It was very helpful for people like me that don't fish it a lot. You could get away with it not being perfect because the gravel would sort of get you out of trouble a little bit. But yeah, I've used sticky mag a lot in the past, but not for years. And the gravel for me I really enjoyed
That was
using it with
something-
gravel in.
Obviously, when we went down, we were late on the first practice day, and I went and sat with Thomas, and that was the first thing I spotted that he had gravel in his sticky
gravel.
mag. And I was like, "Do you always use it?" He's like, "Yeah."
They were really open with us, to be
And
fair.
then obviously I spoke to Matthias, and he got us some gravel. You know, I mean, they were massive. Like they didn't hide anything.
No.
Fair play to him.
Unbelievable. They
That's
were they
awesome.
were so open, and you know, we wouldn't have done as well without their input. And
Why then maggots in the feeder? Did you feel like the fish came to the corn, but then you really pinpointed them by having a little blob of maggots in a feeder?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's probably exactly what it was. I think the corn they naturally come into and are ready for that way of feeding, but the little sticky maggot feeder over the top with maggots on the hook was just the perfect complement for them
Right.
to pick up. You could have fished corn in the feeder, and you would have caught fish and corn on the hook. To be fair,
I think you get a cleaner
yeah,
bite because obviously you can't hair rig.
no,
And I've done a lot of corn fishing without on international rules. I never like hooking it on.
we missed a lot of bites on. You miss a lot of bites
Whereas-
on corn.
Really?
Whereas maggots, you can just nick them top and tail and whatever, and you've got a lot of hooks showing. And also, I feel it's a bit of a similar concept. You know when you like bloodworm and joker fishing, and you feed an area, and then you put a nice little rich
Yeah,
ball in the middle. I feel like that's what you're almost doing with maggots. You're giving them an area of corn, and then concentrating them on something a little bit different. But I think a lot of it was a much cleaner. A cleaner pickup and more hook showing, more chance of them actually getting hooked.
I think the fish hang around a bit more as well. With corn, they come in, nail it, and go. Whereas the maggots knocking about in the bottom with a bit of gravel and stuff, they hang about a bit. And I think a lot of the times you're getting your bite, and then the feed is emptying as such. So you've sort of fed it for the next chuck as such. So that they're feeding on the bottom and bedding in. Whereas the corn, I think they just come and nail it and move on. So it was a bit of a game changer, that really, wasn't it? I'd say.
Nice, very interesting. It's quite deep and tactical what you did, clearly.
Yeah, there's not many options, but it was very tactical. And feeding was key. Yeah.
Individually, obviously, I've got you two in the studio today, and you were first and second. I'd like to talk a little bit about your match days. So maybe let's start off with day one, how it went for each of you. I know, Steve, I think you were in A section first day.
Day one,
Terrible
obviously,
draw.
we got Tank to draw because we wanted to win Tank Frankie.
Yeah.
Obviously, and he drew me A2, which...
Happy?
Oh, yeah, moonwalk down the road course. No, great pet. Obviously, everyone know world champs. A1 would be the ultimate.
Yeah.
A2, you never be disappointed within 3 or 4 at the end. A2, great draw. It was 28 peg section, so you've obviously got 28 teams of 4. So we worked this out, 112. 112
anglers.
people fishing. So
Good maths.
But because it's 28, to try and make it fairer, they split it into subsectors.
214.
Yeah, 214. So mine was A1 to A14. It's quite narrow down in bottom of end A section because the boys start to come in because you're getting towards the end of the rowing course. So I set up two lines. Started at 15 and I think it was like 27. Started at 15. Didn't have a great start. I had like 4 or 5 fish. Bear in mind being mega aggressive. And something else that was really important was twitching.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, it's brilliant.
Basically straightening everything out. So like what we were doing, basically what I ended up doing was casting out, letting it hit the bottom, giving it 15 seconds, whereby maybe I feel the maggots, the water's got to them, and they're trying to twitch the feeder the length of the hook length.
So you're straightening everything out
So I'm straightening everything out and pulling my hook bait
into the mixer.
because the bottom's quite hard at Zeghead. It's not a really silty venue. It's been dry not that long ago. It's not. There is a bit of sediment, etc., but you can drag cleanly. It's a very smooth bottom. It's not
You
like
feel
one of them,
your feet are moving
Yes.
when you
yeah.
pull
It's
it.
but I think there's two reasons it works. I think the main reason it works is you straighten everything. So when they pick it up, they haven't got to move far before.
You get the indication. Yeah.
So I caught 4 or 5 little like small carp. The average carp was roughly sort of 1.8 kilos, which is what 4 and a bit.
Nice fish, aren't they?
Odd
Good
big
stamp.
one, odd 3 kilo fish, and an odd small. I caught 4 little ones, but I was really conscious. I wanted to go to the rope, but I didn't want to go too early. And then when I went to the rope, it was mega for like 2 hours. Like not a fish a cast, but like really, really good. Loads of indications. Felt like I'm pulling loads of fish. And then the 4th hour, it sounds really daft, but I got too many fish in my swim. And I never want to say, how can you? And I started foul looking them.
Wow.
Bear in mind, you can't have, obviously, you've got 50 centimetre hook length on. So there's nothing you can do. You can't go any shorter. I'm sure if I could have gone to like 15 centimetres, I'd have had, God knows how, but I had a terrible spell where I probably lost like 7 fish.
That's good to know that it even happens to you, though, mate.
It was really distinctive, and I learnt this over the 3 days. The bites, when they pull your rod in at 100 mile an hour, always in the mouth. Then ones where you think, where it starts rocking, like side, and you think that's on.
They're over your line.
Yeah, always foul up. And you knew straight away, you'd pick up and you'd be like, that's fouled, and it'd just fall off straight away.
But you could feel them not moving their head properly, sure.
Yeah, they were.
But I'll be honest and say, I'm a really big critic. I didn't have a great match. I felt like the peg carried me a bit. And I finished with, I can't remember, I think 31, 32 carp, 55 kilo, I think.
So that's £120,
Yeah.
basically.
But
Terrible match, but he won it.
Yeah.
But equally, I was pretty much out of sticky mag with half an hour to go because I'd been in and out too much in the 4th hour. And obviously, I was using that feeder.
Can I have a look at them? I haven't seen
Yeah.
them yet, these.
It's like around, I think they call it a tunnel.
Are these Tamas's feeders?
Yeah,
Yeah,
series one.
right.
I was using that, and
30 gram.
yeah, obviously you can get a lot of maggots in one of them every single chuck.
Yeah, it's not a negative feeder, that is
No,
it?
but there was some. I won't mention it now, but on day 2, I learned something that if I'd have done that on day 1, I think I'd have had 70 kilo.
Really?
Yeah, but obviously I
Right.
didn't learn it on day 1. I felt like I fished okay on day 1, but the peg carried me more than anything. I felt
Right.
like I didn't have it. I had it right, but I just had too many. I know it sounds ridiculous to have too many fish in your swim, but I had too many fish and nothing was clean.
But you £120,
Yeah.
55 kilo, won the match outright.
Yeah,
112 anglers.
Yeah, Tamas was second in my section. I think with 39 kilos, so I was well clear.
Comfortable. Comfortable.
Oh,
with it.
just
And
a bit.
I didn't feel like I had it, but I'm a very self-critical. I always think you can be better, and I know you are as well. I always think I could have done better, and I did have after the 4th hour, it's just like, and then running out of bait towards the end was a bit schoolboy, but that was because I'd been too, like I was casting out in the 4th hour, going to put the rod down, and I've gone over the back of one
Right.
and stuff like that, and like I just didn't really adapt. I got a bit bogged down, as in I'll get the next one in the mouth, and then you don't, and I needed to slow things down and maybe fish off the bait, but we'll talk about that on day 2.
What about you, Rue? First day of the match.
First day.
Section win first day, am I right
No,
in
I
thinking?
didn't win my section on the first day.
Ah.
Fished a terrible match. No, I didn't really.
You second.
Yeah, I come second. So I drew in D section, which was the end section, but I was an early peg in the end sector. So I had the Steve Ringer pegs in my section, but the other end
So
sort of thing.
So you were in the end section of the match.
Yeah, but the early pegs in the end. So I was the furthest I could have been away from the end of the match. Length.
Got you. Complete opposite end of the rowing course
Yeah.
then.
Complete opposite end. In practice, they'd caught fish there, so I was quite confident, and obviously we were very confident with how we were going to fish. I can't remember what was the guy next to her, drew next to, who's ever so good.
The Romanian?
Yeah.
I can't pronounce his name.
I can't pronounce his name.
I call him Sorin, but obviously if he watches this, he'll know his name by
Right.
Sorin.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you pronounce his first name.
Lovely guy, and he's very aggressive with his feet. So I was a bit like, I hope our technique's good enough for this, because I've got someone that's going to really put some grub in next to me. But yeah, it was started off well. Again, started short, 15 meters. I think I actually lost my first fish.
Oh no!
But soon got in a rhythm, and I think we had a WhatsApp group, and basically Steve's like, put your first fish on.
I'm a big believer. I will say this as well. Like because obviously phones aren't normally allowed.
Yeah.
But because teams have come a long way, and you can't always bring runners.
Yeah, we didn't have a bank
Tamas
runner
said
day one.
we'll allow phones, but I'm a massive believer in positivity. So if you're struggling, you don't post that on the WhatsApp group.
No.
But I wanted everyone to post their first fish because that's a real, if you want a team tactic, you want everyone to be like, if you get early fish on the board, everyone starts to believe these tactics are brilliant.
It was a really good thing.
And I think Rooney forgot to put his on.
Yeah,
so it was about 50 minutes in. I'm like, Rooney must be dry.
Yeah, so I started offshore, lost my first one, got into a rhythm, started catching. I was quite aware of how heavy he was feeding next to me, but he weren't really catching a lot. He was getting a lot of bites and lost a lot of fish. I think it was the same scenario as Steve.
He didn't have maggots either, did he?
No, he didn't have maggots, so he was fishing corn. So I think he was getting more fish in his peg, which I think was hindering mine a little bit, but he was losing them. So he had too many fish in his peg and he wasn't hooking them. But I think that was because he was fishing corn, not maggots, but it might have been too many fish or whatever. So I got in a rhythm, and then I think it was 10 fish per keep net, wasn't it, Steve? Was it 10? Can't remember what it was. Yeah, so you alternated your fish.
So as long as you had 2 nets in, and there's no net limit, so to speak, if you know what I mean. But you have to have 2 nets, and then I think it was 10 per net, then just one in one.
One on one,
yeah.
That's it. So
Split 'em up.
Yeah.
I got my first 10 in, still at 15 metres with 55 minutes gone. So I was like scared to put on the group that I'd got 10. I was like, so I just wrote first keep net full and just get like a thumbs up from everyone. And then it steadied off. I kept having a little look after an hour long, but a bit like Steve's, it weren't really going, but I felt like there was fish to be caught at 15. So I probably fished literally half the match at 15. And then that 3rd to 4th hour is always a bit iffy, gone on the rope, and I've basically just nicked odd fish, had to be a little bit more patient. The feeding was the same, had to feed after every single fish or indication. And then, going into the last hour, I knew I was there or thereabouts, but they were catching very well on the end of my section. So I thought my best chance to catch the most is on that 15-metre line. So I literally concentrated on that, and I caught on and off my bait on that line. But it was a case of just getting your head down and really concentrating on it, and I had a really good run to the end. I think I had 24, 26 carp for 30 odd kilos. I think I had 39
big
kilos.
Big 30 kilos.
Big 30 kilos, which give me second. I just got beat by one off the end peg who's had like a 44 kilo or something. So
brilliant result from that part of the section. Then.
Yeah, and it was like pressure off first day. Tactics had worked, and you sort of could read the match the way you were feeding, which is nice. Sometimes you're like, what should I do now? I've got options, but what do I do? It was like you knew what to do. So going into day 2, it was very confident.
Team result, won the first day.
Yeah.
How many points did you have? It was something ridiculous, like 5, wasn't it?
Not a lot, yeah.
Well,
5
a bit more, 7?
Yeah, so you won, I was second, Bobby won as well.
Yeah.
Bobby, a brilliant performance
Tank
from
third?
Bob. Tank was third. Tank was in
3,
like
5,
a 7.
Mm.
Tank was like
ridiculous.
wrong end of his section, but he did fabulous.
I think
from where he was.
Well, did Watland have 9 or 11?
Yeah.
I think they had 9 on the
9, I
first
think.
day.
So
So we're only,
Still tight then, isn't it?
but that shows, bear in mind, quite big 14 peg sections. When you score as low as 7 and next is on 9, there's a method.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 teams
Doing
really on the method because, and it shows to me, I had an amazing draw, how fair the venue is. That if you're on the method, then teams can go amazingly low, even in quite big sections.
Yeah.
You've got it right.
Halfway
Got it
through
right.
day 1, you could start reading. You knew who was going to catch fish because you'd watch people and out of, they'd be seeing you catch, and then all of a sudden they put 3 or 4 feeder falls in to try and make something happen, and you just thought, this is great.
We've got him.
Yeah, we've got him now.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you could really read what was going on.
After day 1, did any of you think at that point we're going to win this? Like, because it's a massive competition to actually win. After that result, 1 day in, we can win.
Thing is with Zeged, it's quite temperamental, and you have to know its mood sometimes. And I've been in several teams that have won day 1, and then completely crashed and burned day 2. So I was like, we've got an amazing method, but I was a little bit worried about the weather coming for day 2 because it was forecast English weather, rain and heavy wind.
Yeah.
And I was like, how's that going to affect it? And there's always that, sometimes it can just switch off a little bit. So I went to bed thinking we've got a hell of a chance, but equally thinking this venue's kicked me in the teeth.
Yeah.
And I've not adapted sometimes quick enough in the past.
Tamas mentioned on like lots of occasions, whether it was to make us keep thinking or what, but he said like this is the end of the season for the fish in here. They will switch off at some point, and we were thinking bad weather day 2. Are we going to be too aggressive? But we had a plan,
because it's different in Europe. As in, in England, if you've got a big wind on, the fish feed better. In Europe, it's often the opposite, like bright, flat, that's their normal conditions, so the fish respond better. So whereas in England, you get a big wind on, you're like, this is going to stir them up, they'll really feed. In places like Hungary, a bright, hot, flat calm is the best conditions. That's what they're used to, that's what they feed in. So all of a sudden, if you get a really windy day, temperature drops a couple of degrees, it rains, that's not necessarily good fishing conditions, and their behaviour can change.
Let's talk about day 2. Starting with you, Steve. What were your draw like, and what happened on the second day?
Day 2, I thought we had obviously Tank did the draw for the 3 days.
Especially after the first day, you're not letting anyone else draw,
are
you?
The way they do it, you only draw once, so you draw one number, and that sets like a matrix.
Yeah. Brilliant how they do it.
So basically,
well organised.
You just put your hand in once. Your section, you draw for section order every day. So I went to D section.
Yeah.
But I was in the low subsector, which is for me is better because I don't have to fish against the end. So if you were going like it's D1 to 28, I was in D1 to 14, whereas 28's an end, obviously 27's next to an end. So and I was also by a tower. For those that don't know, there's like viewing towers on the rowing course.
What, just in case you want to watch Steve Ringer fishing?
No, so they can watch the rowers. But I was next to a tower, and over the years, I don't know why, the towers have always been good.
Why? Why is that? Because I've been to Zeghead, and it is true.
I don't know whether it's a silhouette on the water, because bear in mind there's no cover, and also there's wires on the inside going out.
Yeah, they have wires. So the wires that hold the buoys in place, there's wires going across at those points by the towers.
And do the fish like rubbing themselves up on the wires? You know when there's.
I think it's wind and the obstacle of the tower, and obviously the wires going through just maybe holds up a little bit more bait, or if bait's getting washed about, I just think it naturally holds there.
I suppose it's only like on a canal in olden days. There'd be one bush, and every chub in that stretch would be around the. Yeah, they can sense it, can't they?
There's literally no features on that.
No.
So the features are on the bank.
It's a barren venue, and it's a bit like we said about going back on it, Hallcross. But trees on the bank, I think, is important, and I think these towers maybe offer some sort of silhouette.
Yeah,
fish.
Something.
But in all the years I've been going,
something different in it.
A tower is never a bad area, and I was to the right hand side of a tower, which I was really happy with my draw. I had a Erdei tiller next to me, who's an amazing. I call him like the godfather of Hungarian angling.
Yeah,
I had him on my left, so I was a bit conscious of that. But equally, I was conscious of the fact we had an amazing day. Plan was brilliant, and I fished it. But obviously, it blew a gale, and when it blows, it towed like a river. So I started short. Had a much better start. I think I had like 5 fish in the first hour and 10, but they were good fish. So probably 5 for 12, 14 kilo. Which is an amazing start.
Lovely little settler, that, isn't it?
Yeah. Just like fishing either on the bait or just past it. Everything was nice and clean, never lost a fish. No indications, your rod just folds. And then I went out, and it was all right, but it wasn't amazing. And after like 3 hours, it really started to sort of slow up. Started foul looking a couple. And I was obviously chucking the same feeder, either the tunnel one. I used the tunnel one short, and then the sort of D.
Why the D? What's the
just grips the maggots a little bit better.
Right. For casting.
Yeah.
I think it gives you on that longer line as well using mono. I think it just held a little bit better because it's more flat on the bottom, even though you're using the same weight, because it weren't a round feeder as such. Just you could tighten up a little bit better to that feeder.
Got you.
But going into that 4th hour, I lost like 3 on the trot, and for some reason they seem to be slightly bigger fish in that area. And then I don't know. Sometimes you just get a bit of a eureka moment, so I switched to the large Guru cage window. Bear in mind, the wind was a killer as well, and the side loader, the wind was right to left, and it's really difficult to punch a side loader accurately at 30 odd meters. I know it doesn't sound far, but accuracy is everything. Whereas a large window is it's like chucking a bomb. So I switched to a large window, and it just seemed like everything was much cleaner. I could chuck that empty as well. So if I wanted a quick bite, I could chuck it empty. And it became apparent where I was feeding, the fish was sitting 1 to 2 meters to the left.
Yeah, that's how far your bait's moving.
It must have been proper.
So like, if I chuck that,
your tip was like
if I chuck that straight on top of my bait, not a bite. You wouldn't know there was a fish there. Chuck it 1 to 2 meters to the left, your rod gets towed in every chuck.
Interesting, because people listening must be thinking, and I'm thinking, well, I sometimes chuck it a meter there anyway because I'm not that good at casting.
But the beauty of a window is because it's weight forward. You can be so precise. Even in a big crosswind, I could really whack it.
Incredibly.
Be mega, mega accurate. I can chuck it empty because it flies still heavy. You can chuck it obviously full of sticky mag. And the last hour and a half was like a eureka flick to switch. And when everyone else was struggling, I probably caught sort of 10, 12 fish in the last hour and a half. I couldn't get in quick enough, never lost a fish. And I honestly feel if I'd chucked that on the first day, everything would have been loads cleaner.
When you had that little wobbly
When
spell.
when I had too many fish, I think it would have allowed me to be a lot tighter, a lot more accurate, and just a lot cleaner. So there's not maggots spewing all over the swim.
And how did you end up second day?
I ended up with, I think, with like 29 or 30 carp, 52 kilo. And I come away feeling like, obviously, I'll be honest, I didn't have a great match on day one, but I thought I had a really good match on day two. And I felt like it helped me. Attila was on my left, and a lot of people had a habit of coming short late, whereas like I really pummeled the rope as in attacked it late.
It's good having someone like that next to you, really.
And
a different line.
all of a sudden, I could then suck. The last hour and a half, I was just sucking fish.
Because everyone around you is fishing short.
They'll come in, and I'm attacking it at the best time of day, and I'm pulling them all in. All right, it's further out, so you've got to bring them back. But when you get them on a chuck, how much slower can it be?
Obviously, for anyone listening, what you mean is everyone around you's dropped in short.
Yeah, 15.
And you've stayed out.
Like Attila, there's asp. I forgot. Obviously, Attila loves fishing for asp, and there's a load of asp at like 6 to 7 meters.
Right.
Frankie was our asp expert.
I think he caught
He
one.
fished. No, he didn't catch any. He fished for them for an hour and a half in practice and caught none. While the team our mixed team on our left were catching one a chuck.
Yeah.
How do they fish for asp?
Well,
We don't know.
don't ask Frankie. Yeah.
But we couldn't catch one, but they catch them really. But
Yeah.
Attila catches carp. That's how he likes to fish, and he catches like 15 kilos of asp and then some big. Because it's a bit like England, isn't it? If you catch a carp short, or like really short, as in 7 meters, it's a margin
It's a
dweller,
big fish, yeah.
and it's a big one, like 3 kilo plus. So he ended up. I think he actually ended up second with 29 kilo. But obviously, it did help me, particularly that last hour and a half.
Having the ropes
I
yourself.
had the rope to myself. You know,
And 52 kilo, won the section, won the match.
Yeah, won the match.
So
Yeah.
2 days running, 112 peg
Yeah.
match. You've got 2 match wins under the belt.
Don't think we had the tactics quite right.
I just felt like that window feeder was just such a
Game changer.
Played a big part after that.
Tell us about your match room. Day 2, obviously, second, first day.
Yeah, day 2 conditions were a lot different. I drew in B section, but probably, if you want to say the right end of B section, they'd caught a few fish around that area the first day. It was steady to start. It was just, as we expected, caught a few at 15, but it soon died on my short line, whereas obviously the day before I was able to fish it for a lot longer. And get into that first keep net full, as I call it, 10 fish, took a lot longer. So I had to keep swapping and changing between the things, but obviously not fishing and being on the ball as much as, say, Steve. That long line, I wasn't getting the bites until I realised that I wasn't fishing on my bait. And that was, but what I was doing where I was going wrong is I was still emptying my feeder quite high. So obviously 6 or 8 foot, emptying my feeder high, getting an inquiry or something the first chuck, but couldn't put anything together. So I changed from the sort of big open cage to our bait ups with the cap on, but heavier weight on, so 40 gram. And I was letting it go down to the bottom and then empty it. And then I was chucking the feeder over the top. And started getting a few bites in because I was just being more accurate. And then obviously the eureka moment, I swapped to the window as well, and obviously details coming through that Steve was catching quite a long way off his bait. I started putting a few fish together.
Anything positive we got on the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, we
so
put it
like on. If you caught like 2 or 3 fish on the window, it was on the WhatsApp group. Try to the left of your bait, try to the right of your bait.
We had
all positivity.
Yeah, we had Dave as well on. So Dave had been in
Dave
Hungary.
McCall.
Yeah, been doing some business in Hungary, and he come to bank run for us for day 2 and day 3. So on day 2, he was up with Steve and come down and was sort of keeping us G'd up. It was brilliant having someone. It's amazing.
Dave was brilliant.
It's amazing the difference it makes having someone, and he's very positive, and obviously we were getting great information. So that really helped me, to be fair. I was sort of like midway. I wasn't falling behind or anything, but I felt like I wasn't fishing my peg effectively enough. And we probably got to that awkward 3rd, 4th hour again, and I was sort of midway, and I was like, I really need to make something happen here. So went long, just being steady and clean, started putting a fish in the net every chuck, and then sort of Dave come up to us and said, Steve's got this many, Frankie's got this many, if you could get to 20, you're going to be there or thereabouts. And I don't know why, but I always feel that short line for me, that 15 metre line's my bread and butter line late on, and I sort of thought, right, if I've got to get to 21 fish, I think I was on 17 or whatever with I don't know, half an hour to go. I thought, if I'm going to catch them, I'm going to catch them there, and I've literally gone on it. Every cast was as I wanted it, you know, when everything's going nicely, and I got to 21 fish, and I was like, I'm going to be there or thereabouts with that. And after the weigh-in, I'd quite comfortably won the section.
What did you have second day?
Not sure, can't remember. 30 odd.
Over 30 kilos.
Yeah, over 30 kilos. Oh, 39 kilo I had second
Great
day.
day's fishing.
Yeah,
That ain't like
steady.
£90 of
steady
car.
But what you have to remember is, and this is something I was always key, 5 fish an hour is £100. It's one every 12 minutes. It's not breakneck fishing. Do you know what I mean? Like four fish an hour is like £80 plus. So you don't need the size is high.
Yeah.
So you don't need like to be catching one every 30 seconds. So like you can take you're not. It's all really busy fishing, but a bite every 10 minutes is £140.
Yeah. I mean, the guy next to me that day, he probably caught better than me in the last hour, but he was like fishing ground bait or some liquid ice thing for his feeder and fishing sort of to the rope, and he was probably catching 2 to my 1, but it was quite apparent they were a lot smaller fish, so he was getting odd Crasio, smaller carp, and I think it was that accuracy thing. If you wanted them better fish, they were either on that shorter line or you had to be super accurate, you know. So, but by the end of day 2, we really knew we had everything. We couldn't have done it any better, really.
End of day 2 team-wise, won day 2 as well as a team.
Yeah, I think we did.
Did you have an even better score on day 2?
Yeah,
3 wins.
3 wins.
And was Frankie third or second?
He might have been second.
I think you had 5
5
points.
points.
I'm
Yeah,
sure you had
5
5.
Yeah,
points.
he did. Yeah, Frankie was second.
Because we were all at home, we're like, God, I hope they've done well. I hope they've done well. They've got 5 points. There must be a couple more still to come.
But again,
no, that's 5 points total.
Obviously, Waterland again was second.
Yeah.
And we still didn't have a massive
lead.
It wasn't like, you think we just scored 5.
Yeah.
It's pipe and slippers. We didn't.
not.
I think we only had like a 6 or 7 point lead.
Yeah.
Which is only half a section. So if one of you has an aberration or something disastrous happens, you could lose that lead in one of the 4 sections straight away. So, yeah, amazing, brilliant, 2 amazing. It's holding up, but obviously there's another day to go. And first time I ever fished a feeder event, we led for 2 days, and then the Czech team scored 5 on the 3rd day and overhauled us. So
You've got that in the back of your mind all the time.
yeah, because I feel like the thing that Daiwa Waterland have with Thomas, Peter Bacco, Matthias, Laszlo, they know the venue.
Yeah.
We're seeing it that week, and I've seen it lots of times, but they know its moods. So if it's suddenly switched off 2 hours into day 3, I feel like they could maybe adapt a little bit better than we can.
Quicker than we could.
Because they've seen it happen, and they might be like, right, I know what to do when this happens. Whereas we'd be like, might take us an hour to work out what's happened.
Yeah.
So amazing, 2 days, but nobody remembers who came second is my adage. And like, I felt like we're never going to get a better opportunity to win the event as a team.
I've got to ask before we get on to day 3, gents, what gear were you using in terms of terminal tackle? Because you've talked about them pulling hard and trying to turn these fish, and you're catching hundreds of pounds of carp. What was the terminal side of things? What sort of gear did you use?
So we used all a bit different, really. So everyone fishes to their personal preference, but you sort of got the gist of what you're going to do. So rod-wise, obviously, Steve used the Steve Ringer ones.
Aventus Steve Ringers.
I used 10 foot at 15 metres and 11 foot
Yeah.
for the rope.
Nice.
And I used a 10-foot Aventus short with the 1.5 glass tip. I just prefer that rod for short fishing, and I fished the 11-foot standard Aventus, again with the 1.5 for long. We all used 8-pound Pulse Pro. Just so robust, sinks nice and quick, and super strong for a low diameter. So bang on for that, really. And then rig-wise, down to hook length, we all probably fished a slightly different rig. Steve and Frankie, and I think Bobby actually all fished the rig, a little running rig with the
little
fluorocarbon boom in it.
Yeah. I think I don't know if Bobby did. I know Tank. Me and Tank both used the little prototype feeder links that we've been working on, which I think will be out hopefully next.
When are they going to come out? A few people asking me. Can I ask you? Any idea?
They're angrily tying them away now as we speak. So realistically, I'd probably say April being.
Oh, nice.
So not too far away.
Good.
But yeah, they're lovely little.
Yeah, so I used one of those little link and then a fluorocarbon, I think 022 pure fluorocarbon boom, and then obviously hook length 018 supernatural
This line was new, wasn't it, just before we went to
Well,
Hungary?
obviously we'd been using the prototypes for a couple of years, but yeah, it was the fresh stuff from delivery. It was the first few spools, so we all decided to use it. Yeah,
Nice. And did it hold up all right?
fantastic to be honest, weren't it?
Your line has to go for a serious amount.
Yeah,
The dorsals are different on the carp in Hungary. They're very spiky, and your line you need a line that's very abrasion resistant, and that Supernatural's very highly abrasion. It's like what I'd call like bulletproof,
yeah.
which is what you want because their dorsals are an absolute. If your hook length gets caught on a dorsal, you can get cut off. It
But just shear you up like
Yeah.
that.
Literally,
yeah,
shear.
you can be playing a fish. In fact, it's come off, and then it cut you off because of the line on the
The
dorsal.
fish destroy keep nets and landing nets because it's so sharp. I don't know why it is so sharp.
There must be a
that-
different breed of carp to ours.
But there's a lot more predators in them lakes, so whether it's a bit of a deterrent or what, but God, they cut you as well. You know, like if you got one stuck in your net and you're trying to get the hook out and it catches you with the dorsal, it proper cut you up.
Like jagged, aren't
Yeah,
they?
so
on
you
the
know how
edges?
easy it's going to break mono. But we used, 018 we used.
Some
didn't we?
teams felt you had to fish finer, but in practice we chopped and changed.
Yeah, we tried a lot of different things in
Oath
practice.
went down to oath. Just never seemed to be any. I'm not a believer that carp, as in big carp. I think Carasio and F1s can be very line shy and very hook shy. I don't think carp are particularly line shy. And I also think with 018, it's slightly stiffer, so you get better presentation. Whereas you can go lighter, but lighter line becomes more supple, so your presentation isn't as good. Everything isn't quite as straight. So we felt 018 Supernatural was like the perfect diameter. Line's highly abrasion resistant. You catch a lot of fish on one hook length without having to change it.
Yeah.
What about hooks? What hooks did you use?
Well, two patterns really. Either the new XS feeder specials. It's like just a feeder special, but a bit more beefed up.
Yeah,
It was
they're lovely hooks.
Yeah, we actually designed it after fishing there a few years ago, where the feeder special was like borderline whether it was strong enough in the sizes you wanted to use. So we've done an XS version. Steve's a big fan of that as well, and obviously using it at places like Ferry and things like that.
You know, when you've got like 50, say it's really windy at Ferry and you need 50, 60 gram to be accurate at like 60 plus meters. I just wanted a hook that was a little bit stronger. So when you pick up, particularly when you're fishing braid direct, which I do a lot, and you get that big head kick, the hook's not going to spring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where that feeder special sort of extra heavy. Plus Zeghead, obviously I love fishing there. And as the carp have got bigger, you've always felt that feeder special still does the job, but you could have something that little bit stronger, which would make things a little bit better.
What sizes?
14 and 12 really. We did go through one of the practice days. Bobby had this idea that a smaller hook might be better, we'll get more bites, which was probably true, but we used the 16 and you miss an odd bite or your maggot goes over, so a bigger, more proud hook with plenty of hook showing was better.
They're quite soft mouthed as well. Fish.
Yeah.
Are they?
Very soft mouthed.
This tells you everything. You know what I'm like with prep. So like on the pole one or a feeder one, I'd probably have 4 of these full. I mean, that's it. That's my hooks. We had 4 lines of hooks, and 2 of them are exactly the same.
Are they
That's
really?
how confident we were. But another hook we used was we used the Kaizen. So obviously you're using barbed hooks. So in the UK we only do the Kaizen without a barb. But we had some prototypes. I think for one of your world champs, I did them for you, didn't I? Were you catching barbel or something?
Vimba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we wanted a hook that was fine wire, nice offset, but very strong. So we had some samples in the 14 with a microbarb on, which were they were fabulous hook while we were there.
And you tried them as well?
I think
used
Frankie was first. Frankie put
Yeah.
one on in practice and was like, "These are amazing. These are like amazing."
Yeah.
But I was catching well on feeder special, but I was losing an odd. I felt like if you deep hook them because they're so soft, you lost an odd fish. But with that Kaizen with the shape, it seems to like doesn't move.
The offset stops it from moving in the fish's mouth. So,
Ah.
and a lot of the times the bites, you know, most carp you catch in the UK because you're fishing a short hook length, you catch them, but obviously with 50 centimeters, sometimes
Quite a lot of them are
the-
disgorger.
disgorger hooked, and I think a straight hook sometimes can move a little bit. So
A little offset
the
in
offset just avoided that, and it's got a tiny microbarb on. I just think it was probably
It was
a
the
hook.
perfect size
yeah.
and the perfect hook.
Yeah.
It was really fortunate that you had that one size, and it was the perfect size for
Did you
Zeghead.
have like one pack between you all?
Oh, we
then?
were sharing them with everyone there in the end. Yeah, we had like I think we had 1,000, didn't we? 1,000
Yeah.
hooks, which sounds like a lot, but when you're sharing it with half the rowing course,
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
it is.
I've had people message me since saying,
Yeah.
"Can any chance of sending me some?"
Are we going to do them in a bar, Rooney? Do you think?
Well, it's done, but it's whether we, you know,
Is there enough scope? To...
yeah. it's a cracking hook. It was incredible, and obviously being Teflon coated as well, it's goes in a little bit easier than the nickel. Probably not as durable as the nickel, but the perfect hook for that scenario. Really,
Like it.
I definitely felt you lost less fish with the Kaiser.
Yeah.
And an odd lost fish is unavoidable with 50 centimetre hook length.
The nice thing with that hook as well is you were, I think when we were designing them, you asked for the biggest spade as possible for using heavier lines. So we put with 018 on it as well. It just tied. It was perfect.
Yeah, your line don't slip over
Didn't
the spade.
move, didn't slip, no. But there was a lot of people by the end of the week on that hook.
Not a bad advert for barb
No,
guys, even though they're not out.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Going back to the rig, I fished mine quite differently because we had some prototype swivels that I wanted to try with a link. But going to like carp fishing, and I know like these boys perfect their rigs, but I'm all about simplicity. And when I fish a bomb, if I'm fishing a running rig, it would be your bomb wouldn't be on a link, it would just be on my line, it'd be direct. You're fishing for carp, I want it to tighten up quick. So I used a little bit of a different rig, which I really like. I use these Heli Core Chod system beads from Corda. So it's like a little tapered sleeve, basically.
Can I have a look at them?
Yeah, of course you can. And what I did is I just cut the thin end at a slight angle. And of these new links I've been using, they've just got a tiny, tiny little size 20 swivel on. So that would butt up against it, kicking it out. And then what I did is I got, the heli sleeves.
Yeah.
The heli
Swivels.
swivels.
Yeah.
Literally the smallest one of them, so I could change my hook length quick, just sits in the back of them. So you had like tiny little kick out, but you could do your hook length. And I didn't have one tangle or one issue all week. It's a rig that I'm going to use an awful lot now. And obviously I might bring something similar out
little
in our
swivel
range, maybe
adaptation.
with a little bit of a angle on the thing. But it was a really nice way of setting it up. And also, I'm probably lazy more than simple, I'd say. And it was just such a quick way, because if you did have a breakage or you did damage your line, there wasn't that tying that little fluorocarbon boom up or anything. I was just straight fishing very quickly again, which, for me is perfect. I really enjoyed doing it. But
interesting how everyone does it a little bit different.
everyone
You've
does
got
it a
to be
bit different, but you've got to fish that way. And
As
it's
long
like,
as it doesn't tangle.
is the
And
key.
you're fishing every shot. There's nothing worse than casting out thinking, am I in a tangle? As long as your rig works. I love that fluorocarbon boom because fluorocarbon's stiff. So it kicks your hook bait away, doesn't tangle, it's highly abrasion resistant. I need to know I'm fishing it. You can't waste a cast.
No.
So there's nothing worse than chucking out and thinking, what if that's in a tangle? You don't
Can't
want to
do
leave
it,
it.
can you? You can't do it.
So as long as your rig doesn't tangle
Yeah.
and you're fishing effectively,
And
that's what it's about.
And it's slightly different for everyone as well. Like one of the things I was thinking is I'm straightening my rig out every chuck. If I'm not getting that bite instantly, I'm straightening my rig out so I know it's going to be fishing. So I knew that whichever way, I was never tangled or I was never going to get in any bother with it.
One other thing I'd say that was important was fishing with a big bend in the tip.
Yeah.
What tightening?
Yeah.
Oh,
your
I hate
finger.
that, don't I? I always fish slack everywhere.
But bolt effect, because you're running rig, so you need something
Yeah.
for them to bolt against. So like anyone who'd watched would think I'd already had a fish on
Yeah.
because your tip's that far.
Honestly,
Exactly.
how he has his tip, I can never get my head around it. 'Cause
You always say he has his tip
it's
tight
so
on the
much
ground.
bend, but during practice, I will say one thing: to get your confidence up, go and sit behind him for 10 minutes, and everything you're thinking of, he'll answer the questions for you. And like I was fishing with a slack tip, and you'd get those, those like rapid bites, and you pick up and there's nothing there. He didn't have that. And it was because there was no.
Because they hit the tip.
They're hitting. They're bolting again. You've got a running rig. They've got to bolt against the rod, nothing else. And it game changer. Really important to do
Little
that.
things,
Yeah,
in tiny
Just
percentages.
tiny things. But like by going back to practice, by day 3, everyone was so in tune, and you'd read the situation, so you knew what to do. It was really good. Even though everyone's kit was slightly different,
The
you were making it
principles
work.
are the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Let's talk about day 3, final day. You have won both days as a team so far. You, Steve, had won both matches so far, which is incredible. And Roon's got a second and a win under his belt.
Yeah.
So right up there individually as well. I'll come to you first, Roon. Tell us about the final day. Where did you end up? How did it go for you? Anything different happen?
Final day, I think it's probably been the first big major event I've ever gone to my peg with not a worry in the world, really. I was very confident. I think the team were very confident. We had this little thing in the back of our mind if the venue was going to switch off, but we'd made our bed, we were going to lie in it. So I thought...
I didn't think our draw was as good either.
No, it wasn't.
We had 2 really good draws first 2 days, but I thought the third day was going to be a tester of the method, let's say.
I was back in D section, so I was the end section in the match again, but I was sort of like in the middle, halfway along.
Weren't you in with the ends?
Yeah, I was in with the ends again, but I was closer to the end than I was on the first day, and obviously first day went well.
You wouldn't expect. No, you wouldn't say. I didn't look at your peg or mine. Come on to mine obviously later and think that's a winner.
No.
You'd be thinking third, fourth, because you've got to go against the ends.
Yes.
And I sat down and everything was fine. Got ready. I was right by the sort of entrance to the venue, so there was a lot of people about. It was good buzz, mega place to be. And then Peter Kiss, there's a guy called Peter Kiss. He's like the kiss of death for me every time I'm near him. He's a fantastic angler, and he's always in I can't remember what team he's in, but they always do well. So he's obviously got.
When Zeged first, obviously it got restocked. It got drained and restocked. When Zeged first reopened, Peter Kiss was unbeatable. Yeah, like he had his results for the first year were like he dropped like 1 point in 10 matches.
In the few years previous on the feeder thing, I drew in his section every day, and he'd catch nothing, like literally nothing, and then tear it a new one. The last couple of hours, he teed up he fishes a very short line, so 6 or 8 meters, and then he just ponders about the rest of the match, puts a few odd fish in the net, and then what he does, I'm not sure, but it works every time.
He's got his own way back.
Yeah, so I was like, I looked at my section and I was pretty confident, knew we were going to do all right, and then he come and sit down, and I thought it's going to be tough to win this section with him closer to the end because he's so good. But yeah, just again. Bit of a rocky start it was on the group. No one had posted for the first 15
Conditions
minutes.
were different. Obviously it blew a gale day 2.
Yeah.
Day 3 it was flat calm
and warm, weren't it?
And the venue had this light. I remember getting there and Tank was dropping me off and I said, looked really lifeless.
It did, didn't it?
Yeah, the venue looked like it had just died as sort of death. It hadn't, but it just looked different, and it was definitely a much. And Tamas had said, end of season, these fish have been fished for a lot. It's going to start to dip a bit.
Yeah, they just switch off. It's mad, isn't it? It's totally different. Well, obviously they switch off with the weather here, but there was no drastic change. But yeah, so it was a slower start. Again, started off well, lost my first fish on my short line, and that was after 20 minutes as well. Normally we'd had a few fish by then, so I was a bit sort of uneasy. Have we got this right? Has it switched off? But I thought we've just got to stick to the plan. So just went through the motions. I don't think I caught a fish on my short line. I actually went on my long line after like 50 minutes. I'd lost one short, went long, caught one long, but it was a little fish. And I just thought, I haven't really done that short line properly. So I went back on it at 15 and started putting a bit of a run of fish together. But I'd say halfway through the match, I was just chopping and changing, like catching odd fish. Couldn't put anything together, no momentum. And Peter had actually caught, whereas normally he's quite late. So I was like, not enjoying this at all because I knew he was going to have a strong finish. I was probably couldn't really get anything together. Just didn't have any rhythm. And then sort of like halfway through, it's that scenario Steve said, people start slowing down, that feed doesn't go, and I just kept consistently feeding. All of a sudden it started coming together, started getting a few bites. Hook bait changes was good as well. Like early on in the week, we were catching on a few more hook bait. So like 5 maggots was good, or 3 maggots. I was just fishing double. Went down to double, whether a smaller hook bait, just they picked it out quicker. And I started putting some fish together. And I think Dave come to me in hour 3 and I think had 10. Then hour 4, I'd got up to 15. So steady, but not blistering like before. And then like he come up to me and said, get me 20 fish and you'll do all right in this section. And again, last hour, I thought, right, I'm good on this shorter line. I'll make it happen again. And yeah, it happened. And again, it wasn't just catching on your bait. You had to sort of you caught an odd one past it, you'd feed again and you wouldn't get one there. You'd have to come back on your bait. It was like you really had to work hard at what you were doing. But if you got it right, you caught one, and they were good fish again. And I think I ended up with 22 or 23 fish.
What weight did you have third day? Can you
nearly 40 kilos again. And it was enough to win the section. So yeah, I was over the moon. So yeah, it was brilliant.
Epic. So 2 section wins and a second.
Yeah.
And team-wise, fantastic result. Third day. Did you win day 3 as a team as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We tied, didn't we?
Tied
with
Tamas.
We'd have beat them on weight, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Right. So in theory, you won it.
3 days,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is ridiculous in
Crazy, yeah.
that standard of angler.
Mm.
Second individual, obviously we'll come on to the winner in a minute. How did you feel about that? Because what an achievement. 112 anglers, 2 section wins in a second in 14 peg zones.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
It didn't really sink in, to be honest, because obviously Bobby had won his section twice.
Yeah.
Steve had won his section twice. So other than the team result, which I knew I think, we were going to be there or thereabouts. Don't think anyone could catch us. I was waiting for the results to come in to see if Bobby had won his section again because I wanted him to come second to Steve.
Yeah.
Didn't even consider myself coming second. Don't know why, but you don't, do you? You just want your mates to do well. And Tamas was driving by and he threw a few swear words at me and goes, "You beat me." And I was like, well, "What do you mean?" And he says, "I'm third, you're second." I was like, "Blooming heck."
Lovely surprise.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I was over the moon. Obviously, I don't do as much as that sort of thing. So to compete at that level and, it feels good. It feels really good. And it's fantastic to be part of such a great team. You're very lucky to be sharing information with Steve and Frankie and Bobby as well. I mean, Bobby doesn't do a lot on the international scene, but he's a phenomenal angler.
Just a natural angler,
Just
Bob.
picks it
He
up
is.
and he just does it in his own way, in his own manner, and he's really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really
Well
good.
done, mate.
Thanks.
Absolutely awesome. I'm buzzing when I see results come in.
Got a nice trophy as well.
Fantastic. Steve, final day for you. The big finish.
Final day, I drew. As I said, I didn't think our team draw was great. I thought Ads was like middle of obviously the top split in D, and I thought he would do well to finish top 3. And I was A12, which meant obviously mine was A1 to 14, which like completely the wrong end for me. But you've got a plan. But my worry was Attila, obviously my neighbour from day 2, was on A2 or A3. He was, and like, there was a couple of other good lads to my left. And I thought this is going to be a really good test. And I think because I've been there before and been kicked in the teeth quite a few times, I just kept looking at the water, thinking it looks so dead. And like, I wasn't particularly happy with my draw, but I knew we'd got a method. The match started at 15. I'm really conscious of the fact can't go out too early. Got to let those fish settle. Even though you're boshing a big feeder out, it's like Ad said, you're not taking fish out the swim. So you're boshing bait, feeding them, and obviously pulling more fish.
So important that was.
And I think it was flat calm. It just looked really still. And like the match started, and after like 20 minutes, I hadn't had a bite. But I've not seen anyone catch a fish. And I'm like, this is going to be a different day. And then I caught a couple, but they were little. And then on an hour, I was like, I need to go out now. Like odd fish had been caught, but no one had got more than probably the 2 I had. Although it was probably 2 for 2 kilo rather than 2 for nearly 4 kilo. And I've been baiting that rope line. Chucked the window out, never even thought about anything else. Chucked the window out, straight on top of my back, and I had 10 in 10.
Golden run.
Yeah, like the best run I've ever had. And I'm like, I'm going to break the match record. I remember Dave coming down the bank and like, how are you getting on? I was like, I've got 12, and this is like an hour and 40 in, and I'm thinking like, I'm going to catch 50 fish, and then but it was flat, and then it started to slow down, and then going into the third out, it just literally fell off a cliff. And I'm still feeding both lines, but you look at your short line and think it's so calm, and I can see people fishing it, no one's catching there. But I couldn't get a bite. I tried past my bait, caught one past my bait. I thought maybe it's the window, it's not quite right.
One thing I'll just put in really quickly. One thing that you probably wouldn't know is that he has an audience of about 30 or 40 people behind him. So trying to catch you at 15 meters on a steep bank. And when people come behind you, it really did affect it.
Do you think it does make a difference?
Yeah,
it does
massive.
make a difference, but it's part and parcel of the event.
Of course. You wouldn't change it.
You can't do anything about it.
But when people come behind you on practice days, it was apparent. Like everyone was thinking, why aren't they catching now? But
It's very open and exposed. So some movement, I think they can see it. They do know car doors because you can drive along, bang. You're like, thanks. But it's part and parcel. But then I thought maybe it's the feeder. So I had 2 thought I'd have a couple of longer chucks with a big feeder, open it, and I caught 2 on that. But when you feel like it's just dying, and sometimes you have a sixth sense, and I just felt like I need to come off this to get it back. If I keep flogging it, they're not going to come back. No one's catching the odd fish. The one lad I thought there was a lad in the white. Every time he hooked a fish, he stood up. So he was really clear. I could see exactly how many fish he had because it's a straight line. so you can see down the line. So it's very easy. I look around a lot, see what's going on, where people are catching. So it's quite easy to see, particularly as most of my section was to the left and I faced to the left, who'd caught what. And I was starting to think he's catching me up. And sometimes you think you have to come off your best line to go on a bad line to get your best line back again.
Yeah, you had to rest it. Rest him was
and that's how. And it was really flat. I'd been feeding that fish, and I chucked on it with literally. I thought I'd come off it for half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, and I had 2 chucks there, nothing. And I thought I'm wasting time, but I need to let it settle. And then literally out the blue, I had one 3 kilo on my short line, and then I had another 1.5 kilos, and another one 1 kilo. So all of a sudden, I put 6 kilo in the net in 45 minutes, which wasn't great, but it was better than nothing. And then when I went back out long, it was solid again.
The rest had done the
trick.
trick.
Yeah, the rest had done the trick. Even though other people were fishing it, I think even I'd let them, I was kept putting the bait in. That discipline, I honestly think that's one of the reasons we won. To keep feeding 2 lines, even though you're only fishing 1, was massive.
On a feeder, on a pole where you can pick a catty up or throw a ball.
It's so
or
time consuming because you catch a fish. I'd catch a fish and then you've got to pick your bait up rod up for 15, put 1, maybe 2 in. Then put that down, pick your bait up rod up to the rope, chuck that out, and then you've got to pick your fishing rod up, bait it, load the feeder with sticky mag, and drop it in. And it's like, I bet if someone actually timed how much time you're in the water, you must have lost an hour of 5 hours just
feeding,
baiting up and feeding and casting. But when I went back out, that rest, it was like all of a sudden they were settled. And I think I finished, there were smaller fish. I think I finished with 28 or 29 fish for 46 kilo and felt like day 1, not a great match. Day 2, really good. Day 3, I felt like I was totally... Sometimes you go to a venue and you think, I'm so in tune with it.
Yeah.
And I felt like, because I'd been at Barston the week before with the England feeder team, so I'd had a whole week's worth of fishing, and you get so sharp. Time on the bank is, particularly fishing at the highest level, I felt I went to Zeged, like bang on it. We finished at Barston on the Friday, and Sunday morning I was in the van with Frankie, obviously with Rooney and Bobby, and we were on our way to Zeged and fishing again Monday. And I think going there sharp was massive for me because your brain's thinking fishing, and I felt like other than the first day, my decisions were perfect. I don't get that very.
Well, 46 kilo third day.
Yeah.
Section win.
Section win, yeah.
Match win.
Match win, yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I'll never,
ridiculous.
I'll never do that ever again.
Have you ever won 3 100 peg plus matches?
I've only ever won 3 matches. I've won 3 matches in a row once before, but we're talking 30 peggers, not international 112 peg.
With some of the best anglers in the world.
Yeah. That's phenomenal. Absolutely awesome. Well done.
I don't think it... Well, I'll never do it again.
I don't know. I won't bet against it.
I don't think it's possible. I think the stars have to align a little bit, but equally you have to be in tune with the venue. And if you can see that picture there, I always want... That fish trophy is for the highest aggregate weight.
Yeah.
They do one every year, pole feeder, and I've always want... That was the one trophy I haven't got.
And you wanted to win it?
I said before we started, I said, that's the trophy I want.
Talk about winning in style.
Look at that. Not a bad top 3. So Tamas was 3rd, Roon 2nd, Steve's 1, and then team-wise, obviously the pinnacle, winning it as a team. 21 points, I think you had over 3 days, which is... In some matches, teams score that in just one day.
Yeah, but again, it shows that it was a method. I don't mean a method feeder venue.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a method venue.
There was a method to the fishing,
And if you're on the plan, that's how good it is. And obviously, Darwin Waterland was 2nd. That's no coincidence.
No, and they only had 28 points, so they're 7 points behind you. They are, realistically, like you said, they're right on your tail, and that's only a bad section one day, and the swing is there.
Yeah, I think we took their plan, which obviously credit to them for giving us it, and then maybe just fine-tuned it, enhanced it for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For how we fish. Because I'm a big believer you can't beat someone by copying them.
No.
Because if you copy them, you're always going to be a little bit behind because they're going to adapt slightly quicker. So we took their team plan on, obviously 4 amazing anglers, and by each throwing little bits into the hat, we were able to take their plan and then maybe tweak it for what we wanted. And I think like the addition of the window feeder, I think was massive.
For the accuracy, casting
for the
down
accuracy
toe.
And the tightness of your bait, and also the window feeder twitches better. When you that twitching was massive.
We might see a little bit more of the twitch in a few weeks' time or a couple of months' time in a certain project that's going to come out.
Yeah,
as well.
that'll open a few eyes as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It opened mine.
It wasn't so many years ago when you wouldn't dare move that feeder, would you?
Exactly.
Oh, no.
Exactly. And like I'm looking at the results here, like Energo Fish, is that the
Energo Fish.
Bulgarian?
No, it's Hungarian. They're Hungarian. They were local Hungarian. They were second.
They were
second or third in the club one as well.
Yeah.
got you.
They were a local team to that venue.
But like
Good
they're
handle.
third, but with 49 points. So you guys absolutely annihilating it. Walter Landau were second with 28, and there's a 21 point gap to third place. So like you say about it being a method venue.
Yeah.
I think there were several things. The aggression of the feeding, the discipline.
Discipline was so
Getting
important.
4 people to be as disciplined as we were is difficult. And like keeping it going. I think the positivity, I'm a massive believer. I know I can be quite a negative person, but like when you're fishing, I've experienced team matches where one person's negativity can drag the whole team.
Yeah.
So even if someone's struggling, you don't need to tell anyone. Because like if you're fishing really hard and then someone puts I'm last on the WhatsApp group,
Yeah.
you
It
sink
kills you, doesn't it?
because you think, what's the point?
It's a mindset thing, though,
it
isn't
is.
it? That's
So I'm a big believer in keeping positive. Any information that has to be passed is positive. If you're in a hole, get yourself out of the hole. Don't drag the rest of us
Yeah, down. Yeah.
sort of down with that negativity. Obviously, that discipline, and also that I honestly believe leaving that long line at the start was huge. I think that's probably one of the things we got better than anyone. A lot of teams went straight to the
Straight
rope
on it, yeah.
because it was the better line. Although Ads did catch a lot of fish throughout the match length. The rope was the more consistent, but that letting the fish get confident was huge. I think.
amazing, boys. What a result. And also, I've got to mention, like, I think Bob were 4th individual with
Yeah.
5 points, and Frank, I'm not going to say his worst performer because even he were 13th
yeah.
individual
Yeah.
in 112.
Tank was a little bit unlucky because I think he was in B and C every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on a couple of the days, there was a little pocket. You can still get good points with our method, which obviously is exactly what he did. But there was just a little pocket where you thought, oh, there's a pod of fish there, and he couldn't beat them.
Yes.
So he was best of the rest, which is
Yeah.
what
I
you
don't-
need to be.
I
That's
don't
what
think
wins it.
anyone beat him near him.
No.
He just got beat by better places in the section towards the end of the section. So he just wrong end. But
Yeah.
yeah, he fished fantastic. And he was so positive and kept, spirits up.
Yeah.
All us coming back with section wins in second, even though he was getting third and fourth, which is still fantastic. He still kept up beat.
Good.
Dave
Good.
as well on the bank. Like,
Yeah,
literally.
Dave was brilliant on the back.
There was never on the second day, even though it was a slow start. He didn't come down and say it's a bit slow for everyone. There was never any. He was basically what we got. What Dave was doing was monitoring ours and Walterland. So obviously just making because when you get to the last day of a team competition, you can almost disregard a lot of teams, not in a rude way, but you only need to know the team you're fishing against.
Yeah.
So it was us against Walterland. So he was like, Matty's going to be third in that section, but Rooney's going to be second. So that's a point. So you can work it out that way, is into how you're doing.
How did you celebrate? Did you go out? Did you have a few beers?
Started driving home.
Yeah, drove home about 3,000 miles. No, yeah, we they do a mega presentation. It's sort of in a stadium, which was really good.
Bear in mind, there's no money. It's just
It's
really.
just prizes.
You look at the trophies, though, that you
Yeah.
win in this event, and I always think that they're so impressive when you see you guys stood on that podium with them trophies.
Incredible.
You don't get that in
No,
English
that-
match fishing events.
It's winning in Europe for me is prestige.
Yeah.
That's where that's the ultimate achievement. I think
Yeah.
it was 11. What did you say? 11 to 12 different countries were represented in
And
that
they have
feeder
like
event.
the opening ceremony, and it's just great being part of it. It's like being part of the world champs, but not the world champs, if you know what I mean.
It's the nearest thing.
To me, it's not about like when you fish in Europe. It's not about money. It's about beating
all
and
about-
being the best in Europe. And obviously,
It's such an amazing feeling.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, I love it.
What about next time? Is there going to be another Walterland feeder next year? Do you know anything about it yet?
hopefully, obviously, Tamas Walter runs the event with his team.
We'll have to get him on a podcast, Thomas.
Tamas
if he
would
could
be
come
an,
over.
He'd be an incredible. He'd come over, I think.
Do you think he'd come and do one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to get him over.
Be a long
Take him
one.
fishing, couldn't we, and that as well?
Obviously, that's an Olympic or kayak centre or rowing course, what we want to call it. And I think next year is either a world championship year or an Olympic year. So he's got a problem with dates. So
Right.
A lot of rowing on.
there's a lot of rowing on early in the year, which I think means pole, which obviously you fished, can't happen in April. So I'm probably giving all Tamas's news away.
Yeah. We don't know that.
We don't know, but hopefully
We don't
we'll be
know.
back
We
on.
hope there's a feeder.
Yeah,
Good.
You know what I mean? If he abandons the pole, that'd be great by me.
yeah. I mean,
No. Pole only.
To be fair, I enjoy the bowl event too.
Good. Just great place to go,
It's
isn't
just such a
It's
probably one of my favourite.
For me, it's the best venue
Yeah.
in Europe. It's the whole thing. It's an incredibly fair venue, and I've only won once in 12 visits as a team, but I've never disputed the winning team. When you talk to them and afterwards, you're always like, oh, I can't believe we missed that trick. Why didn't we do this? And obviously, we've been fortunate, as in Tamas puts us up on, we get to stay on the rowing course. So you drive a long way, but you're in the rowing course. You get up in the morning, you're on the banks.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Nice, easy, simple.
And the fishing's incredible. Obviously, with no blood woman joker, bait prep. You've been to World Champs where you've got quarter of a litre of this, half a litre of
Sore
that.
fingers opening all the tins.
Yeah.
That's what you got.
All you've got is corn and maggots. So it's a really simple.
Yeah.
Obviously, you could use worms. Some teams did use chop worms and stuff. We tried it. We just didn't feel. We felt it was more important to have your maximum of maggots.
Right, got you.
Yeah.
So really simple, just an amount. And obviously 27 degrees at that time of year when it was like 10, 12 degrees here is obviously extra nice.
Oh, it's a treat, isn't it? What a treat.
Yeah. Good food as well.
Food's always good.
Have some nice
food,
foods.
hospitality.
Yeah,
And like you
mega.
say, Tamas and his team are so open with information.
What would you say to people? Obviously, there's a lot of people listening to this podcast, guys, who might not have a route or an opportunity to go and fish in Europe and do this kind of thing. Is there a route to it? And is there other things that an everyday angler in the UK that might be listening and feeling inspired by this? Is the events that they can go and enjoy like this in Europe?
Yeah, there's lots of. Obviously, the main one, which a lot of English go on, is the Iberian Masters.
Yeah.
That's in Spain. On like it's a river, but it doesn't flow as such, tiny bit, so you can fish it as it's like a big canal.
Freestyle World Champs were there this year. weren't
That's a very popular match with the English. The organisation is incredible.
they? It looks amazing, to be
It's
fair.
sticky mag
You ever
fishing.
been there, Rooney?
Never been. One I'd like to go to.
It's sticky mag fishing and a bit of ground, maybe a bit of ground bait, etc. fishing.
Feeder only.
Feeder only. The Iberian Masters is. It's in normally late March, early April. But that is a lot of people go to that one as their first one because everyone stays in the same hotel. When you book in, they book your hotel rooms. You order your bait. Your bait's delivered to the hotel in the mornings.
Wow.
And then you drive to your peg, park behind your peg. If you wanted one to get for your first step into Europe, that for me is the best one. And then when you go, you'll make loads of new friends from different countries, and they'll start telling you about matches in Germany, Lithuania, all different places. And then you obviously, if you want to spread your wings, you can go on other events. And if you don't,
Staying all together is a game changer.
Like a gang of you going.
Yeah, you learn so much, and like you say, you make so many
I've made so
friends.
many since I started fishing, obviously at world level. And you'll be the same. If I've got a match like in Europe, I've got like 5 people I can message. But equally, I'll return the favour. If they message me and say, "Do you know? Have you been to that?" I'll go, "Yeah." And you have to be open both ways.
Yeah.
But the exchange of information is incredible. And
You open yourself up to a whole new community of fishing, don't you?
yeah,
Match
and
fishing.
I learn loads. And obviously, I'd like to think they hopefully learn something back the other way.
And you can apply what you learn in Europe
Yeah.
into your UK fishing and
definitely,
the
yeah.
mindset
Yeah.
and the feeding and the positivity. I've got to ask you, boys, as well. I don't know if I teed you up for this or not, but have you brought us any gifts in that we can leave after
I
this
bought you one, yeah.
fantastic show?
A Romanian bought me this on the bank on the last day.
In Zeged?
Yeah, he drove. I can't remember how many kilometres. Said he drove like 500 kilometres to
Right.
sit and watch me.
Yeah.
And then he bought me this.
So you're going to give it away?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think we should all have a sip.
What is that?
He said it's a wine. I think he's been brewing it for. I think he's been brewing it for a while.
Is that a pear?
I'd like to think it's.
I'm glad he gave it you at the end of day 3.
How the hell did he get... Hang on.
I don't know how he got the pear in the bottle. Now you said that.
No, how did he get the pear in the bottle?
I don't know.
If anyone knows...
God, yeah, I never even
No, I
thought
thought
of that.
that.
I'm not going to lie, it looks disgusting.
He said it's really nice. I think he said it's been brewed for like 2 or 3 years.
Can I open it?
Yeah.
Have you sniffed it
No,
yet?
I've not even sniffed it. No.
Have you ever opened it?
No. I'm not like.
Yeah, that's not for me, that.
How does it smell?
Smells like petrol, does it? I dip my finger in.
Oh, and that's even worse for your grubby fingers in.
No, but obviously in Romania they make. In Romania they make their own.
Oi, mate, remember you got to drive home.
They do a lot of making their own drinks, and obviously
Yeah.
it's not the first time I've been bought drinks.
I'd say that's one brilliant thing. The Europeans, the gifts and stuff.
Yeah.
They just love sharing and just. It's so friendly.
It's a beautiful thing. I tell you what I wouldn't want to do. I wouldn't want to drink half a bottle of that and then go and fish a match the next day.
I think that's what they were hoping.
Try and slow him
That's
The
down.
the
Romanian team sent a decoy to put.
He should have given me before the match.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
I think so and all. What about you, Roon? Did you bring us anything?
Yeah, well, I went to this huge chocolate factory in Hungary while I was there for a little tour and that. So,
Oh, what a treat!
and they put your name on it.
No,
I got Matthew.
look at that.
Oh, didn't see that one. And then Toby. Steve, they didn't have your name, so I got sorry written on it.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll give that you in a minute,
much.
Toby. There you go.
There you go.
The
folks.
well-known Hungarian chocolate
So,
factory.
I reckon have a drink and then a bit of chocolate.
Yeah, you can have the drink.
No, it's all right. You've got a taste for it now.
Thank you very much for that, boys.
No
I
problem.
think
You're
it was incredibly insightful. I've certainly learnt a load. I'll look forward to another one when we get back next year. And don't forget, folks, if you've enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. So when we're doing these podcasts, you get a notification and you're not going to miss one.